The reason we exist is because you cannot stay ahead of. The reason we exist is because you cannot stay ahead of all threats. So what we do is we block by default.
Hey, listen, we've built.
Hey, what's going on? You're here with E-Tech Millie, and right now, what we got going on, we are now on day 5, session 1, week 1, and right now, the main objective is to talk about more of the concepts of rapping, more so than the rapping itself. We will be getting into more of the rapping next week. Monday, probably like around like Tuesday, Wednesday, whenever our raps come in. Again, I just basically got a 5x20 for like $50 or something like that. Just something to play around with. So there's 5 levels of rapping that I would like to go over. Then I would like to go over the concepts that we should study. And after that, we will go over the items that we may need to still get in. Then from there, we're going to watch a few vivid training videos on how to rap professionally. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about the levels of wrapping, which we're going to be going through. Level 1 will be something that's small, that's 1 by 1, 12 inch by 12 inch, and it will be something like wrapping a phone case. That may be something you wanted to do. This right here, I guess you could say maybe we'll be able to get something like this as far as something you can use. Level 2 will be something like your laptop, a flat panel, which is going to be around like 2 feet by 2 feet. That right there is going to be something we're going to do on week 2. We're going to do something as far as level 1 and level 2 next week. Level 3, which is wrapping something like a motorcycle panel, something that's curved parts or XYZ. It's up to you. As long as it has some curvature in it, that's what we're going to be looking for. And the amount of material that's going to be needed for that will be 2 feet by 3 feet, and that will be done in week 3. In week level 4, which will be wrapping the hood of your vehicle. This will be a mid panels, which would be about 3 feet to 5 feet, and this will be done in week 3. And level 5, which will be the full vehicle, which the material is going to be needed is 5 by 55, which will be done in week 4. Depending on how money's going, of course, we might have to go to do week 5 and then just do a lot more practice as far as piece by piece do what we can. As you know, that's a lot of times that's what you got to do. And then after that, just a little recap. When we talk about if you're going to do a motorcycle, it's 20 feet. If vinyl needed. If you're going to be doing a sedan, it's 275 feet that's needed. 55, a lot of times people go to 60 for the most part, as far as 5 by 55, 5 by 60. All right, so the concepts that we're going to be focused on, which you need to be focused on, is the 6 skills that's needed to wrap. 1 is prep. 5 is edge, control, and finishing. And then the 6th skill will be estimating the jobs. So after you have completed your first wrap, in theory, you should have 75% of the tools and supplies that you need outside of materials. Materials, you're always going to have to need more materials. So for the most part, when it comes down to the equipment, the tools, and things of that nature, by week 3, week 4, you should have it. And then after that, one reason I say like doing the whole car might have to wait is because that materials is very expensive, and I just don't want to get any material. I want to get something that's going to look good at the same time. Who knows? Next week I could say bump it. Let's do it week 3. You know, when it comes down to it, once you start moving, you're moving. But that's neither here nor there. So one of the biggest things is mat knowledge, knowing how to lay it down as far as the edges in the prep work. After the prep work, you have to know how to lay it down. If your prep work is not good, you will have debris and imperfections that could have been taken care of if you prepped it correctly. Next week we will be doing a lot of prep drills. That's going to be something we're going to be doing. We're going to be getting out more into the real world using the stuff as opposed to just learning from others. I like to learn from others and then do it myself, then learn from others, do it myself, then learn from others. That's just the way I like to operate. All right, so the mat knowledge is needed because every vinyl does not act the same, and some are more unforgiving than others. So that's with the types that are not. The 3M is supposed to be great. The Denison is supposed to be great, as well as the it's a couple other ones that are supposed to be great. So what I'll probably be working on is I'm gonna be using more of a colored type of vinyl, which is gonna be less forgiving. But in theory, in my opinion, it's better to work with the hard and then go to the weak. You know, work on the hard weight, the big muscle groups, and then you work on the small ones. Because you work on the big ones first, you're going to get more work done. So I'd rather work on the hard, learn how to use the hard stuff. Because let's say, like in the future, I have a client who wants to just put something for $300 down. I'm not gonna tell them no. I'm like, all right, well, shoot, still gonna cost labor. Labor's different than material fees. That's one thing we gotta remember. That's one thing I'm gonna have to definitely make it a point to mention. Labor is different than material. Your material is your choice. At the same time, if you choose a cheap material, it's not going to be my fault when it comes out looking like boo-boo. That is on you because you want to go cheap, and then I will have to go through the nuances of explaining the level of the material quality. All right, so material knowledge is one thing. Then the next thing we're going to be focused on next week will be tools, equipment, and supply knowledge. As you see, we've already went over about like 4 or 5 different equipment and materials. Right now, we have the heat gun, we have the polisher. We don't have we have the buffer machine, but not with the buffer attachment. So we're gonna have to get the buffer attachment. We have the magnets, and we also have the knifeless tape. There is going to be more on the way, and speaking of tools, let's go ahead and go over the tools that we may need to actually get as well. Just because I don't like the half-step stuff. So because I don't like the half-step, sometimes we gotta go broke to get it done. So some of the tools items we may need to get and you may need to get as well. Wrapping pin, which is nothing but a pin like this, but it's meant for, it has like a very fine-tuned needle, and it's supposed to help you like dap, like let's say it's an air bubble that's so crazy you can't do nothing. You're supposed to be able to dap it, and the hole is supposed to be so small you're not be able to see it. If you were to use certain other kind of pins, for the most part, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I don't know. I'm gonna use it just so we can try it out and I can explain to you how it works. So another part will be the clay bar, alcohol, which we have alcohol everywhere. Dawn soap, more material, of course. Fishing nets for the emeralds. Primer 94 is to help set the wrap. So a lot of times what you do around the corners and edges, you put a little bit of that down and then you kind of put it in. That's to my understanding. And a IR reader, I believe I already have one of those. Luckily your boy do a little bit of little hands-on work on a regular basis. Spray bottles, blades. I have to figure out the blades that's needed, and we are going to go over the quality of blades that will be great to use. But for right now, it's all toss up. Squeegee with buffer. All right, I believe I have some squeegees coming, so I really should wait until I get my package before I get a bunch of this stuff. But some of this stuff I don't have, which I think I will need to get anyway. So that's neither here nor there. The next thing will be knee pads. As much as I work outside, I don't have knee pads. I have, a little, I guess you'd say mechanic chair that I can lay down or sit on. But knee pads might be needed because, in a sense, yeah. So I'm probably gonna have to go get some knee pads. Turtle wax, and the turtle wax is meant for polishing up certain things. It's like if there's an imperfection that happens and you need in fact, no. What it is it's the adhesive when it comes to the emeralds, where the emeralds might have some adhesiveness, where you're gonna have to take that adhesiveness out, and turtle waxing can do the job. Not turtle waxing the whole car, but just that one part where the emerald goes, where it has that adhesiveness. So the next thing that we have is the buffer comp. Yeah, well, we're not. Yeah. The buffer component. Yeah, the buffer component is going to be needed. The Snitty. The Snitty is a great device to use, which you may need to get one as well. Microfiber sponge and chemo guide. That's going to be the chemicals. So the chemicals is going to help clean off the vehicle. So one thing that we're going to have to, 3 other things that we need to figure out is the estimating the job, how much the job is worth. that's something that we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to talk about the income and expenses when doing jobs. The next thing will be tool bag box dedicated to wrapping. So what I would like to do is to set up really a box in a bag where the box will be the heavy duty stuff like the heat gun, the wrapping, the buffer, you know, the machine, those big things, and then the bag will include all of the tools that's going to be needed. So that way, it might be a fanny pack, it may be a handyman, or it may just be a bag like this. Well, you know, for the most part, you know, it's gonna house all the tools. So the last thing that we need to focus on is workshop area. So my ideal of a workshop area is depending on where you live, because if you live in Texas or Georgia during the summertime or Florida, and you have these wraps that cannot exceed certain temperatures without having some kind of deformity, it will make sense to have some little, like maybe like one thing to hold them, but then have more inside your house. And remember, some of these wraps are worth $1,000. So because you're going to be working with material that might be worth up to $1,000, you want to be able to take care of them. So since my garage does not have any kind of central heating or cooling system, I plan on having maybe one thing for the wraps that's going to be on the wall, and then I'm going to have another one or two in the house eventually. Or, you know, because the thing is, mat, taking care of your mat handling before you actually use it is part of mat handling. You know what I'm saying? So last thing you want to do is to get a defective product, or you defected the product or ruined the product, and so after that it fails, and then by the time you know it, it's already too late. You already paid for it. But yeah, so that's what we got going on. So right now, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna watch a couple videos from Vivid on how to wrap like a professional. Remember, next week we are gonna be doing small items. We're gonna at least do 2. And then after that, the week after that, we're going to step up our game and actually start using the hood of the car vehicle. And then the next week, as long as we have the materials, we're going to go ahead and do a full body. You know, what we might do, I would like to figure out how to do it part by part, you know, whatever I can, because you know, I hate to lose a lot of change on a mistake that's just because I got too anxious, you know. So that's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and get into these videos though. So yeah, again, all these videos are training videos by Vivid.
What's up, guys? You probably found this video because you're interested in wrapping a car, and it's probably the first wrap you've ever done. We're nearly done wrapping this Porsche, and it's the first car we've ever done. We certainly learned a lot, and we're here today to show you some of the tips and tricks we learned to hopefully make your first wrap a lot easier.
Hey guys, this is pretty hard. Like, that is our stuff.
Like, it's way harder than we thought.
Yeah, but I think that we screwed it up by putting way too much of that juice on.
Now that you've had an opportunity to play around with the vinyl and sort of see its limitations, what it can and can't do, how far you can really push it, it's time to lay your first piece. So to do that, before you can lay any sort of vinyl, you've got to measure it out. And we came up with this trick, I think it's pretty widely used, is just using some painter tape. You're going to want to put it a couple inches off the edge. You want about 3 inches at least off each edge. And we're just going to run a piece of painter's tape all the way around, keeping it tight to the piece, and rip it off. We're going to do that for the length and the width. See, the problem is vinyl is flat, obviously. Nothing on a car is flat for the most part. So to measure it accurately, you've got to do something that that takes account for the contours. So same thing on this side.
3 inches. Boom.
And it's just rough. You can always go a little over 3 inches. Just make sure you leave yourself a little bit of room. You're going to see why in the next step. But we're going to go ahead and put this up against the roll of vinyl and get our first piece cut.
All right, so now you and your friend are going to pull it out, and then you're going to take that tape and start at the end over there. And what's nice is Vivid has put in their name all over, so that then at the end of this tape here, you can use that line. So we'll use this premium line right here to be able to just cut straight down, and then we'll be able to start wrapping. All right, guys, so one of the things that we did learn is that this Rapid Tack says that you are supposed to lay the vinyl wet with this stuff on it. That is further from the truth. What you want to do is spray it down, or spritz it, and then you want to give it a good buff, and you actually want to lay down the vinyl dry. Now, with it being wet, which is what we did earlier, it did not work. So make sure that you take a look and see what the vinyl manufacturer recommends. But for Vivid Vinyl Premium Plus, we can guarantee that you want to lay it down dry. It's a lot easier to work with that way. So I'm just going to get this thing cleaned up real quick, and then Trav and I are going to lay some glass. Guys, you guys can kind of abuse this vinyl. Now, we watched a bunch of like professionals doing vinyl wraps, and like they laid it down once and then it was like perfect. That's further from the truth, as far as like, you can pick this up as many times as you want, lay it back down. If it does get an imperfection, like there are some already here on this vinyl.
With this type of vinyl.
Right.
Some vinyls like chrome, stuff like that, like we don't know, this is the only thing we have experience with, but they're supposedly very, very difficult to work with.
Right, very little heat.
So your vinyl may vary a little bit, but as far as Vivid's vinyl, this color, you really can kind of abuse this stuff. And when we talk about laying glass, what is it exactly we're trying to do?
So what we're going to do is we're going to pick this up and kind of hold it like a picnic table. So all fours, and pull it, and then we're trying to hit the crease. So you'll be able to look at everything from like this ski box here, just going on the 911, to like this fender here. You would look and see the flattest part of the fender, and that's the part that you want to lay glass on. So what laying glass means is it's going to lay flat like glass. And then you just lay it down, and then you're going to start working sections where with this rectangle here, we're going to work 4 quadrants. So we're going to try to lay some glass real quick, which means we're going to try to get this center part here, and then we're going to activate some of the glue. Using the squeegee, pull it up. Okay, so we're pulling it all fours pretty hard, like pretty hard, and we're going to lay it down. Keep going, nice. All right, we've gotten a lot better at this since the first time we did it, but this is what it looks like, guys. So as you can see, the center here, there's not a ton of wrinkle marks like this right here. Now there are some on the sides, and we'll work that, but essentially what Trav's gonna try to do is lay a line across here, and then lay a line this way, and you'll see that in just a second. But right now he's laying this, because as you can see, this has air in it, so the glue isn't activated. But right here, this is where there's some stickiness, and it's going to be an anchor point for everything going forward. So once we get this situated, the final step is to hit it with a heat gun, which really activates the glue. So until you hit it with a heat gun and really activate that glue, it's not going to totally stick.
For 250 years, this land has shaped who we are. From generation to generation, fishing is...
Yeah, again, we've watched a few other training videos from 3M and also other creators. So just let you know that we just don't watch Vivid. It just so happens that Vivid is... they have 5 episodes that go back to back with each other, and it seems like they're pretty knowledgeable. So, I'm willing to learn from them. Let's do it.
up, guys? You probably found this video because you're interested in wrapping a car, and it's probably the first wrap you've ever done. We're nearly done wrapping this Porsche, and it's the first car we've ever done. We certainly learned a lot, and we're here today to show you some of the tips and tricks we learned to hopefully make your first wrap a lot easier. Now, something really cool about modern vinyls is all of the ones worth their salt have this some sort of pattern. This one's like a hexagon type pattern, and they call that air release. And basically how it works is it allows for all these little channels underneath the vinyl, and it gives the air a path to get out. So this is a pretty big bubble, and we've already sort of locked all this stuff down. But something you can often get away with, we'll see if it works on this one, this bubble might be a little bit too big, is you can actually push the air together, and then ultimately try to get it to lay down. I think this one might be a little too big. We'll see. Oh, we got it. Completely gone. So what just happened there is all that air we pushed essentially was pushed out through these little micro channels inside the vinyl. So if you ever run into a bubble situation, you can always try to lay it down that way first instead of having to pick it all the way back up, heat it up, and then try to wrap it all the way back down.
Bubble butt, bubble butt, bubble butt.
Bubble butt, bubble butt.
Alright guys, so what we noticed is as Trav was locking down this line here, there's a bunch of imperfections. I think you guys can see them right there. So he's going to actually hit it with some heat. Because you want to get it, when you see imperfections, you want to be able to hit it with it off of the vehicle or ski box or whatever you are wrapping. So in this case, we're going to pick it up, and again, you can see all the imperfections right there. You see how he's kind of abusing it? And watch this, guys. And you can hit it pretty hard. Like I said earlier, you guys want to test how much heat this thing can actually take. But all those imperfections are literally disappearing. It's pretty incredible stuff, actually. So look at that. Smooth as a baby's bottom. And now he's going to do the same thing. He's going to lay glass by himself. So he's pulling, pulling, pulling. All right, there we go. And then he's going to continue the anchor point down that way.
So now's a good opportunity to talk about squeegee technique. Now your squeegee is going to have a hard side and a felt side. If it doesn't have that, you've got the wrong squeegee, so make that happen. The hard side can damage this, and it's really for stuffing the vinyl into places, into tight crevices and stuff. So proper squeegee technique, first of all, you kind of want to put a bend in the squeegee. Take it and fold it a bit like this to keep the hard edges from scratching the sides. Next, you're going to want to hold it at roughly a 45-degree angle and roughly a 45-degree angle this way, and sort of work like this. Now you can do straight lines, but one thing that we found that works particularly well, at least with this vinyl, is to work 45, 45, and then almost 45 again, and sort of drag the squeegee along at an angle to sort of shove the vinyl where it needs to go. For some reason, that technique sort of helps us avoid these fingers. Now, a perfect example of like a finger that goes wrong are these guys right here. You can see that this is where the vinyl just got too bunched up and it's folded over itself. It's rock hard. You can't get that out. So what we have to do is pick it back up. You're going to keep it up in the air. You're not going to pull too hard on it. If you pull while you heat it, you're going to get this to stretch out. So you're just going to kind of keep it up off whatever you're wrapping. Take the heat and watch. It'll just disappear. You can lay it back down.
Now we're going to talk a little bit about reading fingers. We've ran into two types of fingers. The first one being something small like this. So we're going to tackle this, but before we do, you have to understand and read the vinyl, which that means in this case, this vinyl is bunched up here, and so we need to pull the vinyl away. Now a little bit of heat is definitely going to help as well. So what I have found works best is you put your hand under and you lift up past the finger, give it a little bit of heat, you'll see the finger disappear. And then with the squeegee, you just start laying it down using the technique that Trav told you, 45 and 45. And all of a sudden that finger is gone. Now the second finger that we ran into is a huge finger. Now we call these the giant fingers, and for a very good reason. You can see that a ton of material is bunched up, and there is a huge finger this way. So in this case, heat's not going to be your best friend. Instead, you need to pick up the material and then readjust it. So obviously the finger's going this way, so we need to pull the material this way from one another. So I'm going to pick this up. There we go. And then I'm just going to start laying it down, and then with a squeegee, just start working it. Again, the 45-degree angle is what is going to get her done.
Has a woman ever...
What's up, guys? You've ever done? We're nearly done wrapping this Porsche, and it's...
Yeah, my bad. I had it switched up.
What's up, guys? You probably done wrapping this Porsche, and it's the first car we've ever really make your first wrap a lot easier. So a good chance the correct way to do this is an inlay
With knifeless tape. So what we're going to do is pull all this back, and then we're going to lay a second piece there, lay some knifeless tape so we get to show you guys how to do that, and then we'll show you guys how to do the inlay portion of this in just a sec. So with knifeless tape, you want to leave a couple extra inches on either side so it makes it super easy to work to cut the inlay. How that helps, but I'm going to follow the line, and I'm trying to get right under the crease essentially. Trying not to put too much tension on it. And off the other side. Alright, so we cut our inlay piece of material, so now we're going to lay it on. You just have to barely go over the green line, and then we'll be able to cut it off. Pro tip, by the way, be very careful with the heat gun. As you guys can see, I got a little tattoo, a little branding there. So when you're setting it down, make sure that your arm's not in the way, because it will turn it out of your arm. So much easier. So what this is proving is that when you guys find a place that it becomes super hard to stretch the material, figure out if there's a way to do an inlay, because it becomes so much easier doing it this way. Alright, we're going to finish this up, and then we'll show you how to do the knifeless tape. You want to leave a little extra knifeless tape, because then what you do is you take your thumbs and pointer fingers and push down on to get rid of that green. So now it's just the actual knifeless tape stuff. And you're going to give it a nice little tug. And as you can see, it cuts all the way around. Perfect.
that part of the inlay takes care of sides. When we get all the way back, I'll show you how to use knifeless tape again and create a perfect seam between the two.
Alright guys, so as Trav was saying, for the inlay we're going to put some more knifeless tape, and like the first time, we're going to keep a couple of inches past so that you can easily access the tape. Now normally you want a ½ inch or less, and again the knifeless tape is going to give it that really professional look. because it's going to cut super clean. So try to keep the same distance between the knifeless tape line and the inlay if you can. And you'll see once we're done, you literally can't tell that it's an inlay. And as you can tell, you can barely tell. Or can you?
All right, this is gonna be the last one.
Big favor, Rob. Pay attention. Grab a pen and write this down because this homemade.
What's up, guys? You probably found this video because you're interested in wrapping a car, and it's probably the first wrap you've ever done. We're nearly done wrapping this Porsche, and it's the first car we've ever done. We certainly learned a lot, and we're here today to show you some of the tips and tricks we learned to hopefully make your first wrap a lot easier.
Okay, Trav and I have finally gotten the whole box wrapped. Now, the next part is trimming, which again takes a ton of patience. It's going to take just as much time as it took you to wrap the car. You want to be very careful and not cut off too much material. Always remember that this material does shrink with heat, so we're going to show you how to heat it up beforehand to minimize the amount of shrink. But when it goes out into the sunlight and bakes under some hot sun, it'll shrink as well. So make sure that every cut is a little longer than you think it should be. Now, with that being said, one of the first things you need to do is clean the place that you're going to be laying the material. If it's a wheel well or something, clean it diligently. Use the isopropyl alcohol, then use something like the Rapid Tack, and that should be cleaned at the beginning, because if you use Rapid Tack now to clean on the inside of this box to lay it, it's going to get the vinyl wet, and that will get rid of the adhesive. You don't want to do that. Now, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to heat it properly, and then I'm going to show you how to actually stick it and cut it. So let's get to heating. Okay, for this one, guys, what we're going to want to do is heat up the material. You can see it's all crinkly. That doesn't matter since it's mostly going to be cut off under, but heat it up and stretch it kind of like that balloon, and then go under, and you want to stick it about an inch. So we heat. You get it pretty warm, okay? And then you take it, and you stretch, and go under about an inch. Then you take your squeegee and just push it up against. What that did is it activated the adhesive, so now it's back there at least an inch, so that then when we go to cut it, boom, it's like that. Again, you don't want any water or contaminants, any dirt or anything, because that will not let the adhesive stick, and you only get one shot at that. So again, clean thoroughly. I can't stress that enough, obviously. Okay, so first thing you need to do is activate the adhesive one more time.
Dude, Brad, there's a
So you're just
spider.
gonna put that
Brad,
where?
there's a like literally above your head.
Ow! Dude, what the? First thing you want to do is heat it up. Get it blistering hot. And that'll activate the adhesive. And then with your squeegee, where my squeegee is, you then want to hit it and really push it up against. It doesn't matter what it looks like, because it's not going to be shown. And the last thing is take that sharp knife, and you want to do it as clean as you can. So about a ½ inch to an inch. And you want to just slide it along. And again, you can just score it, or in this case, we don't really care too much about this box. You cut it, and then peel it off. And you can tell that looks a lot nicer than what we had going on before. So that's how you finish it if you're doing a ski box or any other lips or anything like that. Right here is a handle. Now, you can't push the vinyl in, so instead what we're going to have to do is cut just along the outside. Now, if you score the vinyl rather than put the razor down super hard on it, you actually won't cut anything under it. So that's why you always want to have a super sharp razor. First thing we're going to want to do, again, the vinyl shrinks. We're going to heat it up, and then we're going to cut just along the outside edge, so there's a small couple millimeters of vinyl. Okay, so I heated her up. Now I'm going to take the plastic side of the squeegee and really push it down, and you can see how I'm getting it all the way in. Oh. And again, you're working with vinyl, so you can press pretty hard and you're not going to damage anything. Now, next thing is I'm going to take the razor and cut just on the outside. And this is pretty tough to do. You got to have a smooth hand. If we did it correctly, you won't even be able to tell where the vinyl ends and where the handle begins. So there, we got that, and now I would take the plastic side again, because it leaves a little bit of the vinyl up, and I push it down into that as much as possible.
Alright, so the final tip we have for you guys is to post-heat your vinyl. So after you've done all your trimming, everything is completely done, you're going to heat the vinyl up pretty hot. Vivid Vinyl says at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, that's when the vinyl will go back. It uses its memory function. It'll smooth all this kind of stuff out. So somewhere, probably around 90 degrees is what you're aiming to do. What that does is it fully activates the adhesive and makes sure you get a really, really good bond.
Alright guys, there you have it. Those are all the tips and tricks that we wish we would have known before we vinyl wrapped this car. It's our first car ever. Hopefully you found this video super helpful. Let us know in the comments if you know any other tips or tricks that we missed out on.
Yeah, I really appreciate them guys. One sec. So, yeah, if you are interested in watching any of those training videos that we've been watching, go ahead and go to Engine Logic's playlist, and in that playlist you will see the one with the ASC training, where we have the engines and bricks that we're going to be working with, and then as well as the wrapping training. So any of the videos that you've seen through this, you can check out yourself. Also, I know that for true car lovers, we'll have a bunch of the training added to it probably by April, because right now we're busy trying to learn how to wrap, and then preparation for the ASC exams. So we're about to ride out, but before we ride out, the ASC engine and brakes is about to begin in about 12 minutes, around 45, 46. That's what time we will be starting the ASC bricks and engine. So what we're going to be focused on today for both sessions will be engine block science. We get so bored of it that we know it and learn it. Sometimes once you go to sleep, it's like, dag, man, I really remembered everything in my sleep. It's crazy, especially when you take them hard classes, man. But that's neither here nor there. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and ride out, and I'll see y'all in a little bit.